What's up, everybody? This is Nakada, author of Heart on Break. And I know that when you look at the book and what I'm talking about on the page here to describe the book, you're probably thinking that you don't even really want to get into it like that. And I'm really challenging men to actually do just that. Get into it. Get into yourself, that is. A lot of us ever since teenage years and even after, we've just been chasing women. And if we're not chasing women, we're just allowing women to come in and out of our lives without really qualifying them well enough, without really knowing what it is that we want ultimately for ourselves. The world is changing. Relationships are changing. Women have changed. The standards have changed. Everything has changed. The only thing that doesn't seem like it's changing is men. The time that we take to develop ourselves is paramount, especially in a society today where men are not getting the specialized development training from a young age that they need. We are now accustomed to going through dysfunctional relationships as a standard. We're now accustomed to various different lower standards of relationships that 50 or 60 years ago didn't exist. So just in the last 50 years alone, we see that relationships no longer work the way that they're supposed to work. And people say, oh, women have changed, women have changed. That's true, women have changed. But what about men? Are we changing? What changes did we make that were good for us, and what changes did we make that are bad for us? What changes can you make now to better your circumstances for yourself first? Heart on Break is not a book about heartbreak. It's a book about a point that every man must come to. And that point is when you feel as if you have it all figured out and your life is showing you that you don't. You have to be able to stop and make some changes. Changes that you choose to make are going to be the changes that stick with you, the changes that redefine who you are. Because we don't stay the same forever. And one of the things that I see a lot of brothers doing is that they're choosing to remain the same person as they were when they were 17, 18. Continue to have the same friends, continue to date the same type of women who they know don't result in any sustainable, long-lasting relationships. On a lot of occasions, men are not strong enough on their path before they go out looking for relationships, so the relationships end up affecting them and keeping them away from their actual path. If it's a man's decision to sit in a situation or to get up and become proactive. When it comes to relationships, everybody's got it wrong. It's clear. The few people who do have it right, we need to be able to call them up and say, hey, what are you doing? I happen to believe that a lot of what's wrong with today's relationships start with men and the decisions that they make about the kind of woman they want. We have to let go of the superficial ideals of what a woman is, because that's been defined to us by the media. We have to find women who want to live the same lifestyle as us. A man needs a woman who's interested in living the same lifestyle as he is. You have to make up your mind as a man about what kind of family you want for yourself. You have to make up your mind as a man about what kind of leader you're going to be for your family. These are critical decisions that you need to make even before you ever meet the woman that you want to be with. All you have to do is decide if this is a person that can be a companion onto you along your journey. You really don't have to force her to fit. And men really don't understand this because we're going through back-to-back relationships with women after women after women, still caught up in relationships that we know we need to close the door on, but we keep doing. It's not just women that go through this stuff. It's women who complain about it. Man, we're not complaining about it as much, but we are suffering from these relationships that are tearing us down. And the only reason these relationships are able to tear us down is because we haven't uplifted ourselves to the level where we need to be at. Everyone makes mistakes, and a lot of your mistakes are taught to you based on where you come from and what you've been influenced to do. And taking the time to analyze where those decisions came from and how to improve those decisions could be the best move you've ever made in your life. But we need to be honest about the time that we need to dedicate to ourselves in order to get better. That's the real goal of my work here, for men to really understand the freedom that actually does come with making up your mind once and for all what it is that you want to do, and then making sure that everything in your life helps you accomplish that. And that includes eliminating the dysfunctional relationships that do not help you. Because if they're not helping you, then they're taken away from you. There's no in between. The hardest part of it all is actually taking a break. Finding yourself is not really that hard. A lot of people think that it's this complicated process. You are who you are, and you were born who you are. And there's certain things about you that have been with you ever since you were a child. There's certain things that you've excelled at ever since you were a child. There's certain things that's just undeniable about you. A lot of people are looking for things outside of themselves. Men need to be assured of their talents, their skills, and what they bring to the table from a very young age. And if you know yourself pretty well, it'll help you along your process. A very important component to all of this is closing the door on the wrong women. A lot of fellas think it's a joke or it's a game because we continue to entertain the same women over and over and over. You should really look at it in a different perspective, because you deal with the same women over and over because it's easier, and that's just the flat out truth. The sex is easier, the compatibility is easier. It's not as challenging as going out and finding someone new. So a lot of guys continuously deal with the same women over and over. They think that they're doing themselves a favor by entertaining this person because it's much easier. Of course it's much easier. It is. It's always much easier to go back to someone you've been with before. But the point is, if you're going back to someone you've been with before and that person has caused you nothing but drama, nothing but stress, and your life did not produce fruit from it, then why are you doing it? You're doing it because your willpower is weak. You're doing it because you have some self-confidence issues that you need to work on. You're doing it because it's the easy thing to do. You don't close the door on women. You're giving her permission to linger around in your life. You think it's to your advantage because you feel real good about the ability to call her up anytime and she pick up the phone and she drop what she's doing to come to you because she's unfulfilled and she's looking for you to make her more fulfilled. But you need to be able to close the door on women like that, no matter how comfortable they make you feel. Closing the door is very important, especially for guys who still consistently deal with the mothers of their children. That may be a hard thing to do because sometimes you fantasize about the idea of waking up and being in the same house as the child, but men, we gotta snap out of that. Children don't change the destination of dysfunctional relationships because children don't change people. Being with a woman because you have a child with her is one of the worst things that you can do for yourself and the child, especially if you're a man who hasn't found your direction in life. I know a lot of guys who've been drugged through the mud based on the fact that they want to remain constant in their children's lives, and they're dealing with women who were the wrong women in the first place, women that they refuse to close the door on, who's now making life hard for them because they don't want to be with them anymore. Men have to be very, very strict about this, and you have to do whatever you have to do in these cases, such as, you know, being able to take your situation to court to get what you need out of the situation so she stops antagonizing you. But you must also be accountable and understand that your inability to close the door on this person is what's causing all the conflict that's lingering. You must be able to close the door and allow for ties to break. In cases where you share a child with someone, you don't want to be in their face all the time. And I know it's a hard thing to do, especially when you have pickups and drop-offs and the tension that may brew after the relationship is over. Sometimes you have to do what you have to do to distance yourself from somebody and when you're closing the door on them, because it's too easy, especially when you're dealing with exes and the mothers of your children, for them to creep back in. Men really need to be able to understand when they're in the presence of the wrong woman. And I think most men do. It's just that most men are not listening to their intuition. And being able to listen to your intuition about relationships and situations with women will definitely guide you, but you have to trust yourself. So the willpower is a major portion of being able to close the door on the wrong women, but closing the door on all women to take a break and focus on yourself will always be a beneficial move for you, because that's less distraction and that's less energy that you have to pay out to all these other people. Not an easy thing to do, but it's always beneficial to you. You need to be able to clear your energy field from the wrong women and surround yourself when the time is right with someone who's fully supportive of what you want to achieve in your life. These are real life situations and real life scenarios that men go through on a consistent basis, simply because relationships have changed and they're not going to go back to being the way they were before. So if men don't take a focus and emphasis on repairing themselves, repairing the damage that they've suffered throughout their life in order to be better in the relationships that they have now and for the children that they have from these dysfunctional relationships, then we're going to suffer. In the book, you'll find valuable gems about closing the door on the wrong women, accountability and moving on. You know, how to get back into the dating world whenever you're ready to do that. The importance and the different things that you must do on your break to make it valid for yourself, to make it an experience that makes you better. The emphasis that you must take on your own mind, body, and spirit, your own health as a man. Various other tips and advice, such as eating advice, to help you stay optimal for your body type. There are a lot of different things that go into being a healthy man. There's a lot of different things that go into healing yourself. And your break is the ideal time to do that, where you will have no one else to focus on but yourself. The issue is, can you find the time to take the break that you need to make yourself better? Should be yes. This is Nakada, the author of Heart on Break. I hope you enjoy the book, and I hope many of the stories and the truths of the book you can relate to and use to motivate you and inspire you to live the life that you're designed to live.